Alright, I'm going to set my clearance on these gears. Using the method Mr. Pete recommended. There we go. Shoot. I really wish I could get a... This thing seems made to make you want to slip. I don't like it. I may put a larger bolt on here so that I can have a washer, big thick washer, and this will stick up taller so that I can get to it with a box end. Seems like that would make sense. Alright. What size were these guys? ½ inch? Yeah. No, wait a second. Yeah, that'll work. Okay. Alright, so what I want to do is get this guy out of the way. Do this clearance first. Alright, so that's the clearance he recommends. I mean, there are charts where you can look it up, pitch, diameter, yada yada yada, but that's what he recommends. Alright, this is my next victim. So I don't know how much of this I'm going to show disassembling it, but I want to tape it for my own purposes for just documenting how it all goes. That's nice when things come out finger tight. Bag and tag, that's mine. Only way I've been able to loosen some of this stuff up before. When I first got this thing, I doused it all down with, I don't think I had the good stuff at the time, but I used PB Blaster, I think. So that should have had a good long while to work down into it. And I mean, what that is, I know what that is. Let's see what this is back here. That's my half nut. Which Hey guys, it's carriage obviously, so that's my next victim, and I'm just about to where I'm going to prime and paint it. I kind of wimped out on one thing here. This is the lever for the half nut, and sometime in the past. I don't know, somebody stripped the screw out, something happened, and they fixed it. That looks like JB Weld to me. I could set this up in the mill and drill this out and try to fix it properly. Problem is, I don't know what kind of a can of worms I'm going to end up opening up if I do that. This may be chewed up. It may not. I just don't think there's anything to be gained at the moment because this actually, it fits well. It fits about the way I believe it would fit if it had the screw in here. And if it does turn out that either this piece or this piece is chewed up and would actually have to be replaced, then that puts me at the mercy of the eBay ghouls who will probably get me as much for that stupid little part right there as the whole daggone lathe cost me. So I'm just going to leave it alone for right now. And if I sell it, I will point that out. And, you know, I think most people will think the way I do. It's best to just roll with this. If for some reason that epoxy joint should fail in the future, you know, this will be a lot easier to take apart in the future because, you know, I've cleaned it and it'll all be oiled and everything. It's a pain in the butt for me to take this all apart down to this stage. So, and because I wasn't sure how evaporust would react with this, you know, it's a chromed pot metal basically. I didn't immerse the whole thing in that. Instead, I gave it a bath about up to here, and the evaporust did a great job on some rust that was down here. And then the rest, instead of using my purple power stuff for the cleaning, I went back to you know, good old brake fluid. It's just because I was, you know, I'd already derusted part of it, and I didn't want to flash rust or anything, so I just went with the old school. I sort of did it in reverse order. I think I was trying to demonstrate to a friend of mine the evaporust stuff, so I probably rushed it. Should have cleaned it all first, then gone after the rust. But so that's ready for priming and painting, taping, priming and painting. I'll probably hit a few items with a brass brush here, and then rock on. Alright, quick update on the Atlas 618, or Craftsman 618 I should say. I'm kind of making a push to get it back together now. And the reason I had a more of a hiatus because I went and bought myself an Atlas 12, which I'll show you in a second here, which was supposed to be ready to go. And, you know, even though I bought it in pieces, all the pieces were supposed to be there and good. And I sold my 10-inch to make room for it. And as I was putting it together, the 12-inch discovered that it's not ready to go. There's some issues with this. So suddenly I went from having one lathe that worked to a lathe that worked and one that was a project to 3 lathes, one of which worked, down to 2 lathes, neither of which was working. So that made me think I need to get this thing working. And consequently I've been, you'll notice I'm fitting this even though it's not painted yet. I've got the tailstock being painted, being drying out there. But it's so close. It's very tantalizing at this moment. I just need to find a pulley to match that motor. That's probably not the permanent motor that's going to go on this. And figure out the belt situation. I know that Jaster uses some kind of a rubber belt that he got from a McMaster car that you can actually fit around it. That I don't know how that works, but I'm going to try to figure it out. He said he liked that better than the V-Link type of belt. So I'll probably follow him down that path. What else? Yeah, the tailstock's all complete. I got to make a some sort of a clamp for the tailstock. I think this came missing that, if I remember correctly. But I mean, it's just really, really close at the moment. I mean, everything's good. Yeah. I did notice something. I'm curious about other people with 6/18s. When I engage the half nut, I don't know if I'm seeing it happen now. This is going to make me a liar. But in the past, yeah, okay. There is ever so slight a deflection of the screw rod, and I figured, oh well, it needs adjusting, and so I loosened these guys and played around with it. There is no more adjustment. So that kind of bothers me a little bit. It's much less. It was worse, put it that way. There's just a slight little bit of it left, but I've got these things both all the way as far up as they'll go. I've loosened these, tried to play around with the nut itself within the apron, and so I think that's just the way it's designed. I do have to figure out what I'm going to use for a tool post. I have a couple of things in mind. I don't think I want to spend the money to get one of those OX quick changes, simply because I'm getting to the point where I think I'm not going to keep this. I'm probably just going to sell it. Just no space here for multiple lathes. So, plus I'm getting new windows done on the house, which is costing an arm and a leg. So, yeah, I've got a couple of the old lantern styles, and I want to figure out how to get one of them to actually work here. And that'll be a different project. But getting really close, should be able to make some shifts with this before too long. And I'll show you the 12-inch and why it's not completely in commission right now. Alright, so this is the 12-inch. See if I can get some light on the subject. I know Randy Richards says my videos are all very dark. I need more light in the shop. So I've got it running. Obviously, I've been working on this piece right here. This is a piece I'm making to repair this machine, which is, you know, that was the really frustrating part, was when I realized I needed to fix the machine and I needed a lathe to fix the machine. So I rigged it. I've got it working, but not in the ideal configuration. And I'll show you here in a second what I did. Alright, so this is the offending part. Let's see if I can get the light moved so that you can actually see it. Alright, it's showing up back there. This bracket back here. So it pivots. I'll bring it around. But you know, it lives in here. It houses the shaft that connects this pulley on the inside to the pulley on the outside. Trying to move the light and the camera at the same time. Alright, and the light is hot. Yeah, so let's see if I got this tight. Yeah, alright, so it's loose now. Alright, this thing is a mess. Let's see how to describe it. Well, the shaft had, you know, obviously not been oiled correctly throughout its life, and it just lives inside of a you know, bronze bushing. You know, it was a very thin bronze bushing. No bearings, so it had worn through, and then proceeded to start grooving out the actual cast iron of the bracket. And so it was just flopping in there. So doing a couple things. The shaft itself was scored. You know, needed work. So what I've come up with. So what I did, you know, when I wanted to make, that's the shaft, replacement shaft that I'm working on up there. To get it running, I Let's see if I can find a drawing of this thing. Basically flipped this puppy over. Yeah. Let's see how well this shows up. I don't know. Can't tell. So this is your basic bracket here. And as you can imagine, this all the tension from the pulleys on this side and that side, they're all pulling it up this way. So the groove was being pulled up that way. What I did was I flipped the bracket around so that now this thing is being pulled up against, you know, what was, you know, the good, you know, the less worn side. So it's not riding up against cast iron. I put oil in it, and of course the oil is, you know, now that it's flipped over, the oil cap is downward. So this is not a long-term solution by any means. It's just enough to get me running so that I could try to make the shaft and some other pieces. So the challenge now is going to be what to do with the old bracket. And so I'm trying to make everything I need before, excuse me, that's the camera strap. Everything I need with the lathe before I have to disassemble it. So this piece here is something I made to try to press the bushings out, those bronze bushings. It's going to be kind of a pain because they exist, you know, one's here, one's here. There's no way to just, you know, if it was a single sleeve, you know, you would just push from one end and it'd come out the other. There's two of them, one here, gap in between. So I'm hoping, and one of these of course is all gooned up. So what I'm hoping I can do, you know, this is a fairly tight fit, is, and this shoulder will catch the bearing. It's a very thin bearing, as I said, for its purpose. So my idea is that it would come in right in the good bearing, the relatively good bearing, catch it, and push it, and then catch the other one, and then push the whole thing out. So that's okay. My battery died, but I think I showed everything I wanted to there. So I showed you this tool, which is to push the old bearing out. If that doesn't work, I'll just have to set it up and just, you know, bore it out. I figured this would be easier if it works. Then I will have to bore it out anyway. So I mean, you know, so I don't have too much invested in that because of the elongation of the actual cast iron housing that the bearing has got to go into. So my idea is to bore this out. I made these at 0.953. I was shooting at 950. Why did I stop at 953? I can't remember what I was thinking. But I wasn't sure how much interference. And from what I read since then, I think 1/1000th is appropriate. So I may bore that out to, you know, 952. But I'll be checking as I go along, I'm sure. So the idea is, if I can get the whole thing set up, it's going to be tricky because I have to set this thing up in the mill dead flat, dead true. And I may have to do it in such a way that I can come back to it, but, you know, remove it and put it back in, depending on how I figure out my order of operations here. So anyway, the idea is to bore it out, press these in, and then come back in and bore out a new 750 thousandths shaft, or hole for the 750 thousandths shaft. And so these will become my bearings, bored out, after they're bored out. So I've never made bearings before, or bushings, I should say, and I don't know if that's considered the proper technique. I don't. Maybe you're supposed to, bore these all out first and then press them. I don't know. It just seems to me that if you get to a thin wall, and this won't be anywhere near as thin as the old ones were, but the old ones were, shoot, just hundred thousandths, 50 thousandths in thickness, 100 thousandths in overall size, diameter difference between the shaft, the insider hole, and the outside of the bushing. So that's that's pretty thin stuff to be trying to do on the lathe without deforming it, I think, when you're talking about bronze. Not that I have a ton of experience with it, but I don't know. And plus, I don't have that much faith in my precision with the lathe. I have far more faith in my precision with the mill. I haven't got my forge up and running, so that's why I decided to try it this way. But you can see the challenges that will be there. Once I have, I will have to take, set this up, bore it out, take it out, press these in, put it back in, and dead locate the center, and have it all perfectly true to the way it was originally, to drill and bore for the shaft. So it's going to be interesting. And if this all goes to pieces, I believe I've got enough meat here that I could just go to plan B, which would be to cut out a race for an actual set of bearings. I might just buy some regular bearings to run the shaft off of, which would really probably be the better solution all around anyway. So the big challenge for me will just be getting this trued up in a repeatable fashion on the mill. So anyway, I thought maybe I would be able to quickly get the 618 running in case, oh crap, I need to run back and make something, but I'm realizing now it's I'm going to have to order some things, so that's not going to be as quick a turn as I might have hoped. I thought I had a link belt that would work, but my link belt is too thick. So yeah, I got to wait on the mailman and some other stuff. So there will be nothing quick about getting that 618 running. So I'll just have to take my chances once I take this thing apart. Alright, so here's my bandsaw that I don't know if I've shown before. Probably did, but it's a typical Chinese job. It's just like the one they sell at Harbor Freight now, except it's green rather than red. And it's been doing pretty well for me. I took it in trade on something else. The one thing it was not able to do the other day was to cut a piece of a cast iron sill weight. Just wouldn't even touch it. Weight was just laughing at it. So we'll see how well it does with this rod here. This is actually, I think it's tool steel. It was hard to cut actually on the lathe. So let's see how well the bandsaw does with it. Oh, it's going right through it. I love all the mods that Halligan did to his. I'm going to have to watch his videos and figure out what I can copy off of them. He's always doing something cool. That definitely took a lot longer than, you know, I think regular steel. But yeah, it's done. I've got it cutting pretty straight now. It wasn't when I first got it, but I've been tweaking it. And I'm just going to leave it for now. I need to throw some more oil on that, but I think I got it. So that was a pretty straight cut to start with. Oh, I want to point out, I am not going to center drill this. The reason is, this chuck is, you know, it's a 3-jaw. It's off by 5 thousandths, so I don't want to center it here. You know, even though I might want it to rechuck it later. If I do, then I'm going to put it in a 4-jaw and get it right. So no center drill. I shot back? Yeah, it's over in the office. Luckily they sell these in the convenient 6-pack. I would never have guessed.